So first, I'll start off by thanking you for your time because I know you have many of things to do. You have multiple employees and programs, et cetera, et cetera. So I do appreciate your time, especially to
Thank you.
discuss Juneteenth, something that I'm passionate about and that I really just enjoy educating the masses about because
Mm.
it's not a holiday that's I don't know in the forefront most of the time, or it's like excluded to one group of people when it's a celebration for all people to celebrate, all
Mm.
American people to celebrate, I
Mm.
should say. So I guess the first question I would ask you is how did Juneteenth become an LSS paid holiday?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for your willingness to be with me today and for having this interview and for everything you do for LSS and all the people we serve. We are so blessed to have you in this organization. You come in a room and you light everything up. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do. So how did it become a holiday? We did a survey of our employees and we listed this as a holiday and and got their thoughts and perspectives on it and through that process and through that survey it emerged as a holiday that was important to all of our staff and so that's how it started.
How would you, per se, celebrate Juneteenth? I know that it's been federally recognized, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. But how since then have you celebrated?
Yeah, I like to take time to just celebrate the significant contributions that the Black community has had in our history in building America. So I like to look at YouTube and documentaries to just really educate myself more on those contributions and celebrate along with my Black brothers and sisters. Hmm.
Um, how does Juneteenth align with the values of LSS?
Yeah, it closely aligns with our compassion, which is closely associated with empathy. So having compassion for people that were mistreated throughout history and how that has evolved into who we are today as a country. So starting off with compassion, I think about change. Our country has had to change a lot over the years and significant change from, okay, we eliminated slavery and now we're allowing people to vote and allowing people to go in certain establishments that they were previously prohibited from going to. So, it, change resonates. Co-creation. So how did we really co-create this country? And we did it with the Black community and many others, white, brown, to become who we are as a nation. So those are a few of the values that stick out that are very close to LSS and applicable to this celebration.
I agree, and I love that you mentioned all groups and all minorities and just races, etc. Because again, Juneteenth is a part of American history, and it
Mm-hmm.
should be celebrated, right? Because it signifies the freedom for all people,
Yes,
right? Because
yes.
July 4th
Mm-hmm.
is significant to white Americans,
Mm-hmm.
right? At that time that July 4th came about, black slaves or enslaved people were not free.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Juneteenth is close to my heart because it celebrates
Mm-hmm.
everyone and it
Mm-hmm.
includes black people as humans, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't understand why on July 4th we weren't
Yeah.
set free with the rest, right? That's
Yeah.
history and we won't let it repeat
Yes,
itself. So,
yes.
yes, I do encourage everyone to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate Juneteenth because it's the freedom of
Mm-hmm.
all.
And Ariana, I forgot to mention that you sent me an email that kind of initiated all this and brought it to our attention about this celebration, this important day. And it was really through that process that we started having conversation with the executive team and diversity, equity, and inclusion team, and then ultimately had a survey and got everybody's perspective. And hands down, it was overwhelmingly supported by the whole organization. So thank you for initiating and bringing this to our attention. And it's been a great thing. Thank you.
I would say thank you for the action, right? Because at
Mm-hmm.
first, when I was pinging my email. I'm like, here I go complaining, here I go complaining. But the fact that you all like took action and even decided that it was worth giving a survey, like it really shows what LSS is about, and it is my LSS why. Like, why do I decide to stay here? I see a problem, say a problem, and we act on it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. And you lived out a value of courage to bring it directly to my attention. It took courage, and I thank you for that, because that's important. Courage to face your fears and believe in your heart that it was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a great conversation. I really do appreciate it, Héctor.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
How do we make sure that Juneteenth is not just like one day? Like, how do we make sure that we continue to fight for equity, diversity, and inclusion throughout LSS throughout the years?
Yeah, I think it's basically through our servant leadership culture, one of our values of compassion, of empathy. I think everything we're trying to do with equity, diversity, inclusion, which is really having authentic conversations. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to think exactly alike, but we have these conversations, we respect one another, we try to walk in each other's shoes, and at the end of the day, we leave loving one another. I think that's something that's really important for LSS, especially relating to how we're doing equity, diversity, inclusion. I think those authentic conversations are really what sets us apart.
May I ask, sorry, it's not on our paper, but what has been like the hardest conversation you've had related to social injustice in human services?
You know, when George Floyd came out, when that situation with George Floyd, I felt very compelled to say something, and it was very heartfelt. I shared my own personal experience, and I was very fair, though. I spoke very well about the family. I, I spoke well about police. You know, these are bad actors, but that doesn't mean all police are bad. And so I gave a very comprehensive perspective on George Floyd. But I remember that there were some within the organization that were really upset and even said they thought I got political. But just like you, they had courage and they reached out to me. And I was so proud that they did that. And I went and met with them. And on both occasions, it was hugging, crying, understanding. And we just had to talk. And that's what has to happen. First, the courage to say something, and then the courage to have the authentic conversation. It's more than likely we're gonna believe and think similarly, but we'll never know if we don't have that conversation.
So then after a conversation, like what do we do? Like what do we do to propel our people forward?
Mm-hmm. I think it's in our core belief. We believe in the infinite worth of all people, and we're made in the image and likeness of God. So there's so much to be proud of the human race, and we are all a part of that human race. So how do we connect with each other more? I think we have to have more opportunities to connect with people that are different than you, think different, look different, act different. The more we can connect with each other, the more we're going to realize how much more we have in common than is actually different.
Can I read it back to you?
Sure.
Okay, so this goes back to kind of like the origin. Right, we're back there. So originally it says that enslaved people were set free 1863, but they weren't told, at least in Galveston, Texas, until 1865, which is the June 19th, 1865. How does that fact kind of make you feel that they were told 2 years later of their freedom?
Yeah, I just think it's sad. It's really sad. I don't know why that happened. I think it's very unfortunate. Um, So I just say it's sad, you know. And at the same time, I feel blessed that that decision was made, that finally someone in their heart, or many people, ultimately the United States of America in their heart felt that this was wrong and we can't do this anymore. So that optimism, that hope, that celebration that comes along with that is something we can inspire us today to continue to try to be better each and every day. We are not perfect. Clearly, we've made significant progress, but it's going to even be more progress by this and by each individual trying to do better and becoming better each and every day.
Why do you think it's important for us to celebrate like all dimensions of diversity as opposed to the ones that we may like physically belong to? If that makes sense.
Again, if we believe in the infinite worth of all people, which is our core belief, that crosses gender and ethnicity and class, and it's really all of us. So we all make up the United States of America. We all at this organization make up what we think is a great organization, and it's black, it's white, it's brown, it's woman, it's men, it's everything. And so because we are that makeup, we are very special, each and every one of us.
We all add value, right?
Yes.
We just have to figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess a quote that I did want to get kind of like your feedback on.
Right.
It's from James Baldwin. So to be African American is to be African without any memory, and American without any privilege.
Mm. Yeah, that's strong, and it's tough. I mean, I understand what he said. I read some of his readings earlier in my as I was going through college and things like that. But yeah, it's deep. I mean, it's deep and it's personal. And someone that comes from that background, that has that heritage, can probably answer it better than me. So for me, coming from Puerto Rico, we were originally Taino Indians, similar to the United States Indians. The Spain came over, brought in the African slaves, but in Puerto Rico we were more integrated. So we blended and started, everybody started being with each other. And it's interesting in Puerto Rico. I asked a friend of mine, how does equity, diversity, and inclusion look like in Puerto Rico? And he started laughing at me. He says, we don't have that here. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, we're Puerto Ricans. We're black, we're white, we're brown, but we're Puerto Ricans. And there's no like, you're not treated different in the criminal justice system, or you're not discriminated because of your color for certain jobs. And so I thought that was awesome. Now, this is a perspective. You could have different perspectives of Puerto Ricans. It also is my perspective. That's the way I grew up, thinking about how we were as Puerto Ricans. But yeah, so I just share that insight.
For me, the quote just kind of like hit in the heart because I guess because it is kind of real, right? Like I don't know what traditional or what the traditions or customs are in Africa because my only experience is here in America. Like this is where my family has been for generations and generations. So we are American people, right?
Absolutely.
But oftentimes, as you said, navigating American systems are not the same. So that's where you kind of realize where your dimension of diversity is playing like full effect. So yeah, it's like it's a reality, unfortunately. But I hope through these conversations that you said and just like climbing ladders and the further or closer I get to these tables that make these decisions, I hope that I can seriously affect change for Black people and women and just everybody. Because if we only focus on one group, no change is going to come because everyone's going to feel like their group is more important than the next. So yeah, that's how I feel. We have a lot of work to do, but we have done great things. So.
Well, you're a huge blessing You're a great leader. The way you come across is very empathetic, compassion, and that's what's going to lead to good change. So I'm so proud that you are here and that you're a part of this organization and that you're helping us lead these efforts and these conversations.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, yeah.
So, as far as just like Juneteenth growing
Mm.
up, is it something that you were familiar with as a child, or did that kind of elevate as you became more educated?
It did elevate as I became more educated, but I do recall. So I have a friend, Damon, and when I was 16 years old, he was homeless, and he lived with us for about a year. My mother took him in, and we fed him. We loved him. He was like my brother. He is my brother, and he's black. And he told me a little bit about Juneteenth. I vaguely remember him talking about it, but I've learned a lot more. I'd say, especially in the last couple of years, more so than ever. But I do recall having a little bit of a conversation with him about it way back when I was 16 years old.
Yes, yes, we've always kind of like celebrated, usually minimally. I know
Mhm.
Milwaukee has like a Juneteenth festival. Sometimes it's the whole weekend, sometimes it's just
Mhm.
actual Juneteenth day. But the food, the best turkey
Yes.
legs. If you get a chance,
Okay. All
at
right.
least go for the turkey leg.
All right. All right.
But I guess you can get it at State Fair, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
An African Fest. So
Oh, yeah.
that's no longer, right? Yeah. Too bad. That should come back.
So, what does the recognition of Juneteenth mean for Black communities?
Mm. So I'll try to answer the question, but then I want you to help me answer that question as well. I just think it's a great opportunity for the Black community to be celebrated and to be recognized for their significant contributions they have made in our country. I think it's that simple. I think people, the Black community, will feel appreciated, recognized, which I think is worthy and important.
I agree. I agree. I'll snap to that. I think it's also just like the opportunity to educate the masses, just to like
Mm,
let people know that we are more than just our tragedy, because it's a
mm,
celebration.
mm,
We see so much of Black trauma in
yeah.
films and in music and social media, the news, right? Like there are so
Hmm.
many ways to be Black. There's so
Yeah.
many things within our culture to celebrate, like daily inventions that people don't even know that were
Mm,
created by Black people that they use.
yeah.
So take the time out to appreciate it. The elevator, the stoplight, the washer and
Yeah.
dryer, like ironing board. Look
Yeah.
at that. Like solving problems through
Yeah.
invention. Just
Yeah.
appreciate that, because I personally have benefited from Black innovation, and that's where I find my pride.
Yeah.
Like that makes me proud to know that our people can come from so little and create so much, and
Mhm.
then have the courage or the like the bandwidth to share it with someone that they feel has caused them harm. If
Yeah.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Like I appreciate that and just learning more. Like I didn't even know that a lot of the inventions that are credited to other individuals is a result of Black people not being able to get patents for
Hmm.
their inventions. So that's just like a whole nother barrier that they
Yeah.
were able to cross and succeed. And yeah, I just thought I can do anything. I feel like I can
Yeah.
do anything.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
that's why it's important for me, and I hope
Yeah.
that my son shares that with his children,
Hmm.
and then keeps going, and the cycle continues, so that we can be prideful and know that it doesn't
Oh,
stop with the tragedy.
that's
We are
awesome.
more than that.
How old is your son?
He's 16.
Okay. That's great.
He's
Yeah.
grown.
I mean, he should feel a lot of hope. This country is his. There's lots of opportunities. He should continue to educate himself and know that he can do something significant in Milwaukee and in our country. I think we got to give our children more hope,
Mhm.
and also, you know, um, more guidance on what life is all about, the challenges it brings, but also to make sure that we have temperance and self-control and restraint, because there's nobody's perfect, and we're going to be mistreated, And I don't care if you're white, you're black, you're brown, we're all going to mistreat each other at some point or another in history, and we can't let that affect our future. And so we got to have hope and optimism because there's so many opportunities in this country.
We can't generalize, right? That one person does not represent
That's
the
right.
whole group of people. So
that's interesting. So when I grew up in the near south side of Milwaukee, I was bullied by a Polish kid. And that's what led me to be a boxer. I came home with a bloody nose, crying. And my father said, "¿Qué te pasó? What happened?" And I told him what happened. And he took me to the boxing gym so I can learn how to defend myself. Long story short, I ended up doing really well in boxing. But I remember going to Poland. And I went to Poland with my own biases, thinking that they were going to be racist and that they were going to mistreat us. And I went to Poland, man. I met the Polish president. It was really nice. They had nice accommodations for us. They even gave me their blood soup, which I didn't like very much, but I was being gracious and I was trying to eat it. But and then going to Russia and seeing how great the Russian people are. So like you said, don't generalize. One person doesn't represent a country or represent an ethnic group. We should treat people as individuals. And I believe the overwhelming majority of people are good people. We're made in the image and likeness of God. You can't be, there are good people. Unfortunately, there are bad characters as well. And we just got to put that aside and move forward.
I wanted to ask, because you mentioned just like connecting earlier, have you found that food has been the best way to connect through cultures, or is it the conversation?
Well, I love to eat, so I think it's both. Because when you eat, you have conversation, right? So I know, like in my culture, I mean, you're gonna eat, man, and that thing is it's so good. But you're gonna fellowship and talk through that meal. So yeah, that's a great way of connecting with people is through food. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Food and music.
Yes.
What? Who doesn't love the two? Maybe at the same time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that concludes our interview for today. And again, thank you for taking the time out to have a conversation with me, like a real conversation. It did not feel much like an interview. So thank you so much.
It was a great conversation. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I give a hug.
Okay. Thank you, Hector.
Thank you.